Good morning. Thank you for joining VirtualPBX-admin training. You should be seeing on your screen the dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. If you're on the virtualpbx.com website, if you mouse over support, you'll see options on the left-hand column. There's the dash options, including there's a dash login link, and you can click that to get in. Username is your email address. Then you have your password, which if you just signed up, the system created for you automatically, or otherwise your admin created the password for you. Then your account name is simply your company name, typically speaking. And then you click on login. Now, you do have the option to remember, to have the system remember you, so that way you don't have to keep typing everything in. And then if you ever forget your information, you've got the forgot your info link here. All right, and then you get to your dashboard. Now, if you've just signed up or it's your very first time logging in ever, the dash wizard will pop up. So it'll give you a brief tour. But once you close out of that, then you'll get here to the dashboard. If for some reason you're on a different page other than the dashboard, if you click up here in the top right, you've got this 3 horizontal line icon, and you would just click on here for dashboard, and then this page will load it back up. Over here on the left, this is your navigation through the various aspects or features of your dash account. There are some others that are listed under this horizontal line icon up here, which we'll get to later. In the middle here, we've got your total users. For most plans, Dash is based off of the number of users you have. I believe we just have, or we're just about to introduce plans based on just usage. But typically, the more users you have, the more your bill is going to increase. Then we have total devices. Basically, these are things, or this is how you and your staff are answering calls, right? Whatever phone you use to actually speak to other people. And then there's broken down by type of phone. So SIP phone, it's a type of weight phone that's compatible with us. You've got cell phone, you've got landline. You're going to have a soft phone, which is a software application, runs on a computer or a smartphone or tablet. And then we also have the web phone, which is computer-based off of your web browser. Over here to the right, we've got your main number, or main numbers as in this case. So these are typically what your customers are dialing to get to you, right? So they can speak to you. These numbers will all have the same main greeting, and they'll all have the same routing. Next up, we've got your fax box number. So this is so you can receive faxes. And also, by having a fax box number, will enable the ability to send faxes out. Then we have a breakdown of your phone numbers on the account. So assigned numbers, these are numbers you're using. They go someplace, right? So they're a main number, for example. Or they can go directly to a specific user. They can go to a ring group, etc. Spare numbers, these are numbers that are on your account, so you would be billed for them if you're over your account allotment for phone numbers. But they're not actually ringing to anybody, right? So like you bought a block of numbers and you're not using them all, the extra numbers that you're not using would go in your spare numbers. Or you have a number that you use for a specific advertising campaign or promotion. So like for the holiday season, you use a number for the holidays, so that way you can track how effective those campaigns are. But then once whatever promotion is going on is over, you just stop using the number, you put it in spare numbers, because you can always use it again, or you can just, once the number is in spare number, you can also remove it from your account. Down here, we've got the breakdown between USDID, so U.S. local numbers, right? So number in LA or in Chicago, etc. And then U.S. toll-free, these are your toll-free numbers, 800 numbers, 888, etc. If you had international numbers, there would be a section here for that as well. If you are interested in international numbers, you're going to want to email our porting department. So that's porting@virtualpbx.com. We'll need the city and country that you're interested in. If there are additional requirements from those countries, our porting team will let you know. Germany, for example, requires proof of presence within the city that you're requesting a number. Normally, that's a utility bill most of the time. Other countries are more stringent. Most countries are less stringent. All right, company directory, and you have the option here to download. So when you create a user, you have an option to include them in the company directory. You can always adjust that later, and that's why there's a discrepancy between I have 12 people listed under my company directory, but I have 21 total users. Next up, we've got the account ID. This is actually your account number. Now, if you ever have to call in to our support team, for example, we're typically not going to ask you for your account ID number. We're going to ask you for your company name. But if you ever email in, you can include that, and we can search your company by that. Also, if you happen to have multiple accounts with us, then it might be advisable when you email us to include the account numbers that you are working with. Next up, we've got the account realm. You use this for a couple of things. So typically to program a third-party VoIP device, so something that we can't auto-provision, which we'll get into later, but like if you're programming a soft phone from another company, so X-Lite from Counterpath, for example, or if you're programming a VoIP phone that was not auto-provisioned, the last thing that this comes up in is when you fax out. So on Dash, we have email to fax, so you create a new email. In the to field of that email, you put +1 area code and phone number of the fax number that you're sending your fax to. You got the @ symbol, and then you put your account realm. And then in that email, you attach a PDF or a TIFF file and send it off. All right, and then here at the bottom, just for being a Dash customer, you get a store discount code for use within our web store, which is linked up here. So you can use that to help reduce the cost for buying a VoIP phone or a network router or a switch, that sort of thing. All right, since we're up here, we'll go ahead and click on the caller ID. This is your account caller ID. You're going to want to choose one of your main numbers, which is from here. This is normally a pull down, but my streaming software browser here doesn't always let me see the pull downs. Next up, we've got the caller ID name or CNAME. This is 15 characters, including spaces or special characters that you can put on the caller ID information. So once you click Save Changes, this information gets sent to all the carriers who support CNAME so they can update their servers. This takes roughly 3 business days. Can be a little bit faster, not normally longer. So just bank on 3 business days. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. Not every carrier supports CNAME, and calls can still route through them, right? So if a call route happens to go through one of those carriers that doesn't support CNAME, your CNAME information does not get transmitted to whoever you're calling. There's nothing we can do to control that. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's not a high priority for them, right? Their first priority, connect the call, and then their secondary primary is to get the caller ID information to show up. Then, way in the distance, and third, is showing the CNAME information. So what that means is if a carrier is having higher than expected call volume, CNAME is the first thing they drop. Right now, obviously, if they're having a maintenance issue or some sort of outage, you're hoping your call just gets connected. And the last minor thing is if you happen to be calling someone who already has your phone number programmed into their device, that device's label for you will always supersede anything we send. All right, next up we've got the company emergency or E911 address. This is basically if a staff member picks up their VoIP phone, dials 911, this is the address that gets transmitted. Now, if you have people in remote locations, you can adjust the E911 for them if they have their own phone number. because then you can append the E911 information to that specific phone number. But then again, if you make any changes, you click Save Changes. And then you wait for that to finish. All right. Next up, we got hold music. So hold music on Dash. This is for when a call comes in, one of your staff member picks up and presses hold on their VoIP phone. This is a default file that will play. You can upload your own files. Dash accepts .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. You want to make sure they're recorded in mono, not in stereo, and that they are no larger than 1 megabyte in size. It is important to make sure that it's recorded in mono. So like if you record a file on your computer, by default, most of the time when you record on your computer, it's going to be in stereo. So you're going to have to go into that file and edit it, in the, depending on what software you use, and basically split it into mono and then upload. That's because when you listen to the file over the phone, right, most phones have one speaker. That's why you need a mono file, because if you try to listen to a stereo file over the phone, you're going to hear either a lot of static, and you might hear whatever message or music is playing, or you might hear dead air. So again, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte recorded in mono. But you find the file on your computer, and then you click on the little blue and white icon here with the up arrow, and then you click Save Changes. All right, so now we'll go to hours, which is part of the main number features. So by default, new accounts start off with 24-hour open office, meaning, hey, you can accept calls, right? Your main numbers won't ring busy. Most people choose to do custom office hours, which means for every day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark. And then in these boxes to the right here, you put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. And it's pull down so you can choose the time that's appropriate. You also have the option here at the bottom, which you might hopefully can see. But you have the option here to be closed for lunch. So like if your whole office or store is closed during lunchtime, you can check a box here and then include your lunch hours in the box to the right. All right, and then you would click Save Changes. Then we have office holidays. So if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here. And then over here to the right, you click on Add Holiday. You have a choice of single day, date range, or advanced. Single day, pretty straightforward. It's pretty much right here, President's Day. And you put the date, February 20th in this case, although I believe that's wrong for this coming year. But then when February 20th rolls around, the system will automatically put you in holiday mode. All right, date range up here for Christmas. I have December 23rd through the 26th. So again, when the system says, hey, it's December 23rd, puts us in holiday mode, keeps us there through the 26th, then on the 27th, hey, boom, you're back to your normal hours. One thing to be aware of for date range, and I've kind of hinted around the edges here, is you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because there's no year indicator here. So if you put December 31st through January 2nd, for example, the system just puts you in holiday mode all year because it doesn't know which year you're talking about. So in that instance, we recommend a single day for New Year's Eve and a single day for New Year's Day. If you are going to be in holiday mode either before or after that, then do date ranges. So December date range up until the 31st, then do a single day for the 31st, do a single day for the 1st, and then if you're closed beyond the 2nd through the 6th, so for example, you would do a date range for that. Advanced is, like this top example here, is I chose the second Monday of March. We're in holiday mode. It's like a company retreat. We're all going for a picnic. Again, any changes, click on Save Changes. Next, we have incoming call handling. So this is how your system is handling calls that are coming to your main numbers. You have these little sub-tabs here. So it starts you off on your open hours, but you also have a tab for your after hours and also for your holidays. If you chose close for lunch, you would also have a tab for lunch hours. But all of these tabs will have the same options. So you have a call come into your virtual receptionist, call come into a person or group to your virtual receptionist, call comes into a person or group, and then go to voicemail. So let's dig into this first one here. So call comes into the virtual receptionist. This is a link. You can click on it. It's going to open up a new little window. And you've got on your left your main menu. This is what your customers press on their phone to navigate through the phone system. And then on the right, you have your greeting options. All right, so on the left, your main menu, this is what you're telling the system, like you choose a route. Unfortunately, the pull downs aren't working. But you have basically, you can, the first box here, you select 0 through 9, right? So someone on the phone presses 0 through 9. Then for that button press, where are you sending them to? Right, so you can send it to a ring group, like I am in this case. This first option here, I'm sending it to the directory so they can search for the person they're looking to speak to. I have one here going to a call queue. And then in this case, in option 5 here, I'm sending them straight to Bob. Now, you always have to tell your customers what to press and where they're going, right? That's where your greeting comes in. So text-to-speech, you simply tap up a greeting, you click Update, and then Save, and then you would click Save Changes over here. So any changes you make in the virtual receptionist, you have to save twice, essentially. The text-to-speech greeting, like if it doesn't sound right when you listen to it, you can just come back in here and edit your text right here. You can upload your own file. Again, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. And then that will play when people get the virtual receptionist. If you already have uploaded greetings, they'll be here, and you can select from a drop-down menu. You can record over the phone. Now, this assumes that you're using a VoIP phone that you've added to the account. And then you follow these instructions. Now, this PIN number here is specific to my open hours, and it only works during my open hours. So if I want to adjust my main greeting by recording it over the phone for my open hours, I would call during my open hours, and I would use this PIN. Now, the first time if you don't have any greetings in place, the system will then prompt you. When you call in and say there's no recording here, you enter your PIN number, and then it'll walk you through it. If you already have a greeting in place, right, you already put in a text-to-speech greeting to start, it's been a little while, and now you're like, wait, I want a different greeting. My customers want to hear my voice, for example. Then what you would do is you'd still call in during your open hours. When you hear the existing greeting play, then you type in the PIN number, and then the system will walk you through. Now, if you need to do your after-hours greeting or your holiday greeting, your system has to be in that mode, meaning if you're going to do your after-hours greeting, you have to call in during after hours and then use the after-hours PIN. And normally I say if you need to do that, adjust your system time or your open hours, your hours of operation temporarily, right? Click Save, then call in, record your greeting, probably call in again just to double check, make sure it sounds right, then adjust your time again on the system so that way you're back to open hours. All right. Next option here, professional recording service. We've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. When you click order down here, it'll take you to their website. They have their own pricing and their own packages. They have something like 80 to 100 different voices to choose from in terms of male and female. They have different versions of English, of Spanish, and of French. You also have the options of doing multilingual packages. They also have the option of doing custom hold music where a music file plays, but then you can have a script come in and be read off, then the music plays, etc. They handle their own billing. They handle delivery to you via email, and then you simply just upload once you have the file. All right, here you've got your settings. This is basically number of retries on misdial. Basically, someone calls in, they hear the greeting, they don't press anything, or they press an invalid option. Right? You can change this number to 2 or 3 or whatever, but basically you're saying how many times can they mess up. One thing also under the main menu, you can have what's called a default route, which I believe is what this right here, which basically means, hey, they don't press anything or they keep messing up, send it to whatever location. Now, I don't typically recommend having a default route that goes to, say, a voicemail box, for example, because then you have the chance of robodials calling your main numbers and leaving you a voicemail, which just takes up minutes off of your plan. All right, so any changes you make here in the Virtual Receptionist, whether it's to the main menu or it's to your greetings, or both, you click Save here in this box, but then you also click Save Changes here under Incoming Call Handling, and that way all your changes take effect. If you don't do that, only do one of them, your changes will not take effect, and it could actually make the system think that it's improperly configured and not allow calls to get through your system. All right. Next option here, call comes in. You're offering it to a person, or you can offer it to a ring group, so a group of people. I believe you can also send it to you can also send it to a call queue. You could send it to a particular device. You can have a particular media file play. But then after that person either isn't able to answer or the media file plays, whatever, then it goes to a virtual receptionist, meaning the inbound caller can then go to your VR and hit a menu option or enter an extension number. So basically what this is it's ideally what it's for is to give a staff member or staff members a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to, caller gets to the virtual receptionist, but they can still enter menu options or extension numbers. And this third option here, call comes in again to a person. It can go to a group. It can go to a call queue. It can go to devices, so a specific phone, for example. It can go to a media file, so I'll play a specific message. And then you're sending it to a voicemail box. All right, next up, we got the main fax box number. You can assign a number here, or unassign it if you're not using it. And then you have the option here to edit the fax box. This will bring up a window or a little pop-up box, and it's got two fields. One is to notify, you put in an email address. That email address gets notified of the faxes that are coming into the account, and that email includes an attachment, typically a PDF, that you can then open and look at the fax. The other field is to add an email domain or email address as well. So if you have your own domain for your company, so at abcdogwalking.com, you can add in that second box the @ symbol abcdogwalking.com. So then anyone with that email domain, right? So Bob at abcdogwalking.com, Mary at abcdogwalking.com, they can create an email and send a fax. They don't have to be a user on the account to do that. They can just, as long as they have an email on your domain, they can send it out. Unfortunately, this is a test account, so the fax box doesn't work quite properly, so I can't really show it to you. Numbers. These are all the numbers on your account, and you can see where they're going and who they're going to. You also have your spare numbers. You can buy numbers here. So if you just signed up and you didn't choose a number when you first signed up, you can come here and add numbers to your account. You would say local for a specific area code. Let's go with 323. You'll see what's available. You can click add to any number of numbers you want to add, and then you would click on buy numbers. System is double checking it to make sure it is still available. Then it's adding it to your account and activating it, and now it's on your spare numbers. So now you can go to wherever you want and assign that number to either a person or to a group, etc. Similar process for toll-free. You just choose the toll-free prefix you're looking for or you want to use, and then click add, and the number will be added to your account. Now keep in mind most Dash plans include anywhere from 1 to 3 phone numbers as part of the plan price. Once you go over that allotment, it's $4.99 per number per month. Port a number. This means you're moving a number from another carrier, so say from AT&T to VirtualPBX. You would just click on New Port Request, and then you just follow the on-screen steps. We also have a full guide with all the screenshots on our website. Essentially what we need is a filled out letter of agency, or LOA. You can download a blank one through that port process as well as on the virtualpbx.com website. And we need that uploaded into that port process. For local numbers, we also do need a copy of your bill. And that port process will tell you everything you need to know. And you have the option to upload these documents to it, sends it to us automatically. You'll get an email saying, hey, we got your documents. You'll get a second one with a explanation of the port process and what to expect. Once we have the documents, we then begin the port process, essentially sending that information to the other carrier saying, hey, here's our letter of agency filled out by the customer. Here's a copy of the bill. Does everything match up? Hopefully everything matches the information they have for that phone number. They say yes, here's a release date. We then communicate that to you saying, hey, we expect the port to complete on this particular day. That day comes around, the port completes. We test the phone number to make sure it's working properly on your account. Then we inform you via email saying, hey, your number has completed. We always advise testing it to make sure, again, it works properly as far as you're concerned. And then you can assign it or unassign it as necessary. If for some reason the port process through Dash does not work properly at any time, you can just email the completed LOA and your copy of your bill to porting@virtualpbx.com, and we can still handle the port process that way. It does not have to go through this online process. All right, under users, this is where you can see all the users on your account. The little blue suit people are account admins. Little gray people are just your standard users. So admins can do everything that I'm talking about today, whereas your standard users, they can only get to their user portal and call queues, generally speaking. You add a user up here, brings up a pop-up, you put in the first and last name. The email used for login, you want to make sure every person should have their own email address to log in with. And that's also the email address that the system will email notifications to, for like voicemail, for example, or password recovery. Then you create a password, and then assign a main extension number. Now, on this particular account, I started the first extension off with extension 1000. So the system is defaulted to the next available 1000 series phone extension, in this case, 1021. I can make it a different extension number. I can call it 7213. System doesn't care. It's just saying, hey, you start off with 1000. Most people go in sequence. Here's the next available in that sequence. All right, create a voicemail box for the user. I say by default that's checked, and I recommend leaving it that way. Basically, when you create a user and this voicemail box at the same time, they're intrinsically tied. So that way, for instance, if you add a VoIP phone onto this account or on this user, the little lamp will come up when there's a voicemail for this user. And if you decide at some point that a particular user will never need voicemail, or you don't want them to have voicemail, you can always delete that voicemail box later. However, if you create a user without this check mark, you can create a voicemail box manually, but you cannot tie it. There's no way to actually tie it directly to that user in the same fashion. All right, here's your option to include in the user directory. If you want to send emails to an alternate address, so this would be in addition to the email address you use for the login. But this last one here is probably the most important one: send credentials to the user, i.e., send the person the user their passwords. And then either hit create user, because that's the only one you need to add, or if you need to add more, create user and add another. All right, once you've created a user, you can click on their name. You can always change their name. Here's where you can change their credentials if you need to change their passwords. You also have an option here to have them send the user a password reset email. Change their voicemail box PIN. Now, if your users are predominantly using VoIP phones, you don't need to create a PIN number for them, because all they have to do is call in off of their VoIP phone, and the system will prompt them to create a PIN number for their voicemail box. If you have people who predominantly use cell phone or landlines, you will need to create a PIN number for them, though. So that way they can access their voicemail box from their cell phones. Again, you've got the option here to send to an alternate address. And here's again the option to include in the company directory, or you can uncheck to not include them. Over here, the user, this is actually drop down, so you can make a user into an admin, or vice versa, take an admin down to a user. Whatever you do, if you're the only user on your account, make sure you always stay as an admin. Next, we got the time zone. So if you got people in different time zones, you can adjust this as necessary. Language on the system, your choices are French, English, and Russian. All right, ringing timeout. So this is the default amount of time we try to ring to the devices on the user. The default is 20 seconds. Now, if you're sending calls to a cell phone, we recommend at least 30 seconds, ideally 45 seconds to a minute. And that is because it simply takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than it does to, say, a landline. Right? A landline, the phone company knows exactly where that phone is. Right? Call to a cell phone, your cell phone provider has to find you, meaning it's bouncing the signal off cell towers until it finds your cell phone. Those extra bounces take extra time. When you pick up, you don't really realize it, but when you're trying to route calls through a PBX system is when it really comes through. You can select the main extension number for the user and then their caller ID privacy aspects. Next up, we got the extension box. You can add additional extensions to a user if you so desire. The phone number box, this is so a phone number that rings directly to this user. If you click on the little gear icon here, this is where you can add the E911 information for this particular user. Oh, I should also show, you can add from spare numbers, the numbers you already have on your account, or you can just pick up a new number directly here. All right, next box over, this is devices. So this shows you the devices you have on the user. You can add from devices you already have on the account, or you can add from a new device. So a SIP phone, that's a particular type of VoIP phone. We have these manufacturers that you can choose from. So select your manufacturer, you select your model phone, and then at the bottom of this page, after you select the phone, you enter in a device name and then the MAC address of the phone. Then you would click on Save Changes here. Now, as far as Dash itself is concerned, on the dashboard, you're done with the VoIP phone. However, on the VoIP phone itself, you need to open up the VoIP phone's web user interface. You need to add a URL, and the directions are on our website. What that does is basically tells the phone, okay, get on the internet, go to this address. The phone connects to that address. Since you've added the MAC address, that's part of the information your phone sends to the address. Our system says, oh, we know who you are. Here's your configuration file. It sends it to the phone. The phone will reboot. It might reboot several times. But after it's done rebooting, it should then show up as green on this page here, and you can then use your phone. And then you can call into voicemail and enter your PIN number or create your PIN number, etc. All right, cell phone and landline are essentially the same. You give it a name, then you put +1 area code and phone number. and then you click Create Device. Like I have here. You can also go to under Advanced and Options. So this is the default how a new cell phone or landline shows up. So what happens, when we send a call to a cell phone or landline, your phone will ring, you pick up. You'll hear, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. By pressing 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there and you're ready to take the call. The system hears that tone, connects the call, you can speak to the person. Now, if you don't want to have to press 1, or you're actually, when you create the cell phone or landline, you're actually sending it to an automated answering service, what you'll want to do here is on this first checkbox here, put a check mark and click Save Changes. I'm going to bring that back up. All right, so what this does is allow use of cell phone's voicemail. Basically, we hear the pickup tone from your cell phone, and we connect the call. Right? So if you're sending it to an automated answering service, that's great. Right? Answering service system picks up, we hear the connected call, caller gets sent to the automated answering service. They either hit menu options or get to a person. If you're sending it to your actual cell phone, what could happen here is you're not able to pick up for whatever reasons, but your cell phone voicemail box picks up. Well, we still hear that as a connected tone, so the caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people love that. Some people don't want that at all. This next one, keep original caller ID. Basically, call goes to your cell phone or landline. On your phone's display, you'll see their actual phone number. Now, if you uncheck this, then what happens is you'll see the VirtualPBX phone number they called in on, right? So your company number, or in this case, like this user has a number, that phone number shows up on the phone's display. So then you know, oh, this is a business call versus random telemarketer. All right, next up is a soft phone. Basically, that message is saying, hey, if you're using a soft phone on a mobile device, the E911 information may not be accurate, so be aware of that. And here we have your basic settings. Again, you give it a name, and if you're using a third-party soft phone application, so like as I mentioned before, Xlite from CounterPass as an example, then you would just create device. Now, you would use this username. If you click on the password box, it'll show you the password. So you'd use that password and then that account realm to program that soft phone application. You could also use this to program a VoIP phone that you weren't able to find under the VoIP phone list from earlier. However, if you want to use the soft phone that we provide, VirtualPBX soft phone, which is usable on iOS and Android, as well as the Mac OS and Windows. However, the Mac OS and Windows version, the desktop version, that does require a license fee, so you'd want to order that through the web store. But if you're going to use it on your mobile phone, what you would instead do is on this page, right here it says use third-party application, and it's grayed out. If you click here, it changes to use VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, you click Create Device. Now, I created this, and you want to do this specifically on the user page for that person, because once you click Create Device, the system automatically sends an email out to this user saying, hey, VirtualPBX soft phone was created for you. Here's your username. Here's your password. And they use that to log into the application itself. Next up is the web phone. You get the same message there. Again, you give it a device name, and then you click Create Device. Now, again, like the VirtualPBX soft phone, on the web phone, you want to create it on the user page, because once you create it, then the user can use their Dash login information to log into the web phone. Web phone is just webphone.virtualpbx.net. The web phone uses their same login information as their dash, right? So it uses their email address, whatever password you created for them, and the account name or the company name. The web phone is workable on Chrome or Firefox. I don't know if I've mentioned that earlier. Again, you can make and receive calls. You can transfer calls, etc. Basically useful as long as your computer has a headset, so mic and speakers or mic and headphones, then you don't have to do anything else for that user, right? You don't have to add any additional software or buy any other equipment. All right. Next up, we got user features. So caller ID number, this is only available for someone who has their own phone number. Otherwise, if you have it off, it'll just use the main company number. And so this is basically when this user makes an outbound call, that 702 phone number shows up as their caller ID. So that way, if they end up not connecting with the person they meant to speak to, that person can say, oh, this is a missed call. I can call this number back. Call forwarding, this is for a VoIP phone user or someone who predominantly uses a VoIP phone. So off, on, or failover mode. So off means you're not using call forwarding. On means you are going to use call forwarding, meaning I'm not going to be by my desk phone, but I still want to be able to take calls for work. You turn it on, then you put the +1 area code and phone number that you're sending in the call to. Now, this phone number should not be a device on the user. And then failover mode is my VoIP phone lost connection, but still send calls to my cell phone, for example. So then, why am I getting all these work calls on my cell phone? Makes you double check your network connection, the VoIP phone itself, etc. Hot desking is another VoIP phone feature. Click enable. A hot desk ID number, I usually just say just make it the extension number. You don't have to include a PIN, but you can if you want. Basically, this is for when you have staff members in a shared office environment where they may not be at the same desk every day. And in fact, often they're at a different desk and at a different VoIP phone every day. Okay, so today I'm sitting at desk number 7. Tomorrow I might be at desk 23. So what happens is when I sit down for the day, I pick up the VoIP phone. On the phone itself, I hit *11. The system will then prompt me for my hot desk ID number. It'll also prompt me for the PIN if I required one. But then they'll say hot desking is enabled. What that means is once it's enabled, calls that come to my user will ring at that phone I'm sitting at. At the end of the day, I pick up that VoIP phone again. I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. The next day, I'm sitting at desk 23. Pick up the phone, hit *11. Again, calls are coming to me at that phone that I'm sitting at. Again, voicemail box, created at the beginning or when I created this user. Fax box, every user can have their own fax box if you so desire. Typically, I recommend if you're going to do this, click enabled, select the phone number. So that way, phone number goes directly to the fax box, no muss, no fuss. You can select it to an extension, which means you have to choose a new extension number. And what that means is someone needs to call the main number on the account. Then they have to hit that fax box number extension on the fax machine that they're faxing from. Then they hit fax start. And then they walk away. So basically you have to make sure that whoever's faxing to this user or these users know the proper procedure. So from when I used to have to add a job where I faxed out a lot, I would just go to the fax machine, enter the number, hit fax start, and walk away to do whatever else I needed to do, and then come back later and check the fax. So someone like me, this would throw me off, having to wait for that extra bit. Conference bridge, if you're making use of the conference bridge on the account, this is where you set it up for the users. So you can set their own conference room numbers and their pins. Follow me, this is for people with multiple devices. So by default, if this was disabled and I just enabled it, all of these would be like this, be on Do Not Ring. So then I can say, okay, which devices do I want to ring? I can click Distribute, so that way they ring in order. This is my total ring time right here, 120 seconds, so that's 2 minutes. Right, you can adjust these little sliders so you can have more overlap, or you can do something like this. So all my phones ring at the same time for the same amount of time until I pick up. Referred to as blast ringing within telecom. Obviously, if I choose Do Not Ring, that means I'm saying don't ring this device. It's like my backup phone. All right. Music on hold. You can set up customized music on hold for each user. Again, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte in mono. Customized call recording. So Dash includes call recording as a feature stored on AWS. First of all, you have to enable it on a user basis. And then you've got these 4 options. So inbound internal means Bob called me, right? So Bob and I are both users of the account. Bob called me. I'm recording that call, right? Inbound external, customer called me. In this case, I have it on. I'm recording it. Now, outbound internal means I called Bob. And then outbound external means I called a customer. And or you can just set them all off because I don't want to deal with recording, in which case you can also just disable it completely. There is a storage limit associated with call recording. It is 2 gigabytes, I believe. I don't remember what the overage is. And you can delete recordings, obviously. And then you have the option here to put someone on Do Not Disturb. All right, next up we got groups, shorthand for ring groups, basically a department. Click Add Group, you give it a name, you give it an extension, and then you click and drag people over that you want to be in that group. Click on Create Group. Now if you click on the name, you can always change the name of the group. You also have this thing, dialing repeats. These little arrows to the right, which you may not be able to see on YouTube. But basically, that's how many times you're allowing the inbound caller to ring through to everyone in the group. So default to 1, meaning it rings through to everyone once. I can increase it to 2 or 3. So basically, it tries everyone 2 or 3 times. Next up, I got the group members. And in this case, here's my ring duration is 120 seconds. I'm ringing everybody for that whole time. Downside of this is, say Jonathan here picked up a call, or the first call that came in. Second call comes in, he's going to hear a call waiting beep on his phone until either Kat or Duke or Hatake pick up. I can also do that. Click on Distribute, and now it's ringing people in order. And like I could under Follow Me, I can adjust the sliders as necessary. You can also click and drag people so you can change the order around. You can click Distribute again. You can also increase the ring time if you want to. Extensions, again, you can add additional extension numbers. Phone numbers, you can add a phone number to a group. Right, so add from spare numbers, pop up here, here's your available spare numbers, or you can buy a specific number or a new number. All right, oops, wrong thing. All right, group features. Call recording, basically, if you enable it, you're recording calls for everybody. Basically, the inbound calls to the group. Ringback is essentially hold music for while people are waiting for someone to pick up. You want to make sure that this file is at least as long as your total ring time, right? So 120 seconds is a default, so I want to make sure whatever file I select is 120 seconds long because the system will not loop it automatically. And again, you can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte in mono. Next action, basically none of my staff members in the group was able to pick up. What do I want my system to do? In this case, I'm sending it to Bob's voicemail box. I can send it back to the main menu, or I can choose a device or another voicemail box. Allow call forward. This is for your VoIP phone users. If you have this enabled, they can use call forwarding. If you don't have this enabled, that means it's only going to ring their devices on the account or on their user. And then caller ID prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on the phone. So basically, let your staff know, oh, this is a call about this particular product or service, especially if you have users in multiple groups or queues. This will only work on VoIP phones because we control what we send to the VoIP phones. All right, devices. Shows you all the devices on the account. Black device means it's been disabled. Green means we know we can send a call to it. Red means we can't send a call to it. You can add devices here. The main ones to avoid would be the VirtualPBX soft phone, because you want to do that on the user, so that way the user automatically gets the email. And you also want to avoid adding a web phone here, because again, it's tied to the user login information there. Basically, the main reason someone would add devices on the devices page versus the users is like an IT person is setting up a new office location. They have the devices, but they don't have any information about the people, right? They haven't been given email addresses yet, for example. He's like, I just know there's going to be 20 people in this office. I got these 20 phones. They can just add them all. Once the people are there, then they can assign the phones to the specific users. Voicemail boxes shows you all the voicemail boxes on the account. The ones that were created when the user is created will have a user notation here. You can add a new voicemail box here, give it a name, give it a number, give it a PIN. Once you've created that, you can always click on a wrench icon here, go under advanced. So greeting media, and you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. You can select files that you've already uploaded. The temporary one is if, for holidays, right? I'm going to be out of the office for 2 weeks. You can have a temporary file play, then you select it back to none, and then you choose your normal media file for when you're back in the office. Recipients, you can add who's getting the voicemail for recipients, especially for a manually created voicemail box. And then options. So once you've already had a greeting associated with it, and the recipients, then you can click the check mark in front of already set up, and then you can also do delete after notification. Now you can do these on any of your voicemail boxes. Delete after notification basically means by default the system sends an email to the voicemail box owner saying, hey, you have a voicemail, and there's an attachment there so they can double click on it on their computer and listen to the voicemail. Each voicemail box can hold 100 messages. After that, no more messages can come in, and basically they get a message saying, hey, the voicemail box is full, please try again later. Since you're already sending the emails out for notifications with the voicemails, you might as well click here to delete, because after that email sent off, it just automatically deletes the voicemail box, so that way you don't have to worry about the voicemail box getting full. All right, Greetings Manager shows you all the greetings you have on the account. You can download them so you can listen to them. You can click the edit icon here, or the wrench. You can change the name. You can also delete it. And this also means that Under the virtual receptionist, like you can do a text-to-speech greeting, it'll show up here, and then you can rename it to something else and then upload it somewhere else. So for like a voicemail box. Same with recorded over the phone. Call logs shows you the call activity on the account. Green arrow to the right means a call came into the account. Yellow arrow to the left means the call went outbound. You can click on a call to get some further details about it. This being a test account, most of the calls aren't exactly fully listed here. You can go also further back in time as well as custom, and you can download. Our engineers are working on what's referred to as advanced reporting. I don't have an ETA on when that is due or going to be coming out, but I do know they're testing it at this point. Next up, we've got feature codes. So from a VoIP phone, you hit star and whatever to make use of different features. So like call forwarding, your users can do this on themselves. You as an admin don't have to do call forwarding for them. As I mentioned, the hot desking here. These are also available on the VirtualPBX.com website, so you don't have to log in to this to see all the feature codes, which is probably more useful for your staff members who aren't admins. All right, next up we've got call queues. So call queues are an advanced version of ring groups. Ring groups are included as part of your plan. Queues are $30 per queue per month. So like this account, I have $150 worth of ACD or call queues. You click here to create a new queue, and once you do, you give it a name. You can give it an extension, or you can choose a spare number or click a new number. And then you've got routing strategies. So right now this one's set on most idle, meaning whoever's been waiting for a call the longest gets the next call that comes in. Other options are round robin, essentially random that equals out over time. Then there's least calls, meaning least amount of connected calls, meaning, so like Bob has spoken to 2 customers. Mary has spoken to 5 customers. Bob gets the next call that came in because he's only spoken to 2 people. Right? And then the fourth option is least offered. So let's say Bob spoke to 2 people, but he's been offered 20 calls. Mary's spoken to 5 people, but she's only been offered 6 calls. Well, under least offered, Mary gets the next call that comes in because she's had the least amount of offered calls. All right, you've got your hold treatment. Again, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte in mono. The queue timeout, this is how much time people can wait on hold, measured in seconds. The queue call limit, basically how many people can wait on hold. If you set it to 0, there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. So if you have no agents logged in and a call comes into the queue, I'm immediately timing the person out so they don't have to wait the whole 5 minutes or whatever that is. Now, what am I doing? What happens when the timeout happens? So I can send it to an escalation queue, meaning I have a second queue available. But if I set this to none, then I'm sending it to a voicemail box. Right? So either there's no one logged in, inbound caller goes to voicemail box, or I do have staff members logged in, but someone waited for the 3,600 seconds, they get sent to the voicemail box. In terms of agent behavior, agent recovery time, basically how much time after a call is completed do they have time to like get a sip of water, finish their notes, etc. Force away on rejected or missed. Basically, if an agent misses a call, the system puts them in away mode, meaning the agent has to make themselves ready again to take calls. I imagine that this is probably better for a sales or commission-based queue versus tech support kind of queue. And then agent connect timeout. How much time is the system trying to reach that particular agent before it moves on to the next person? Over here on the left, we got the little person with the headset. If you click on that, this is how you're managing your members. You click manage, and now you can add other agent or other staff members to be agents. So these are the people who can be in the agents in the queue. These are other people I could add to it if I wanted to move them over into the queues. If I click back onto the little stack here for the queues, if I click here, I can add agents. It says, who do you want to add? And then I would click Save Changes, although I guess the browser here is not cooperating with me. Your ready status is up here at the top right, or you can mark yourself all the way. Queues. So calls to queues will only be routed to VoIP devices, so no cell phones, no landlines. Whereas on a ring group, you can send calls to a cell phone or a landline. It's another big difference. All right, next up is blacklists. This essentially allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you do not want to connect to your system, whether they're robo-dialers or there's a kid down the street who likes to harass your staff members. So what you do, go here under blacklist, you click Edit Blacklists. If you don't have one created, you click Add. Otherwise, you choose a created blacklist. You give it a name. Block anonymous means if there's no valid caller ID, you're blocking the call. But for any phone number that you want, you put +1 area code and phone number, and then you click Add. You click Save. Go back to Settings, and then you click that list and drag it into Selected and click Update. So now when calls come in from that particular phone number or phone numbers, they get a busy tone. So they're not bugging you and your staff. All right. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account. You can see their inbound faxes or their outbound faxes, as well as the email to fax logs. User portal, this is something everyone can get to. Everyone has their own version of the user portal. If you have on your voicemail box delete after notification enabled, then you're never going to have anything under voicemails. Call history, you can see the people you've called and who have called you. You can see your fax box, although this person doesn't have a fax box. The contact list is all the users and groups, etc., that are on the account. This is where your staff members manage their conferences. They can invite other users on the account into a conference. They can lock a conference so that people can't join. They can mute everybody. They can unmute everybody. They can end the conference. When you have actual participants, they can also mute a specific participant. They can kick a particular participant as well. And then on settings and devices, the main thing is they can enable their own call forwarding here if they want to. And then voicemail box, just like the fax mailbox, as an admin, you can get to anyone's voicemail box. So you can delete messages if necessary if their voicemail box got full, for example. And then lastly, there's webhooks that allows you to basically link Dash to other software for greater productivity. And that is the Dash training. If you have any questions, feel free to make use of the chat, and I'll answer those questions. In fact, I'll hang out for a minute or two. But if you don't, I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. All right, haven't seen any questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you again for joining me today. Have a wonderful day.